Hey everybody, this is Dwight Peters from quarterwaters.com, the site for social entrepreneurs, where social entrepreneurs come on the program, they talk about the issue they're tackling, the impact they're making, and share helpful business tips along the way. Now in today's program, we have with us Joe Huff, and he is the Director of Positivity for This Shirt Helps. This Shirt Helps brings worldwide philanthropy and a stylish essential together to make it all easier. You buy a shirt and it supports some of the most needed initiatives around the world. Joe, welcome to the program, man.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. First off, Director of Positivity. How did that come about?
Well, it wasn't taken. If you're going to pick a title, pick a good one, right?
Yeah.
No, I've always been an extremely positive person. It's a big part of my core ethos. I just firmly believe that what matters most is what you do to help people, what you do to make a difference. And I think that, honestly, the only thing that I know that I control in this whole world is how I think and how I feel.
Yeah.
So I try really hard to control those things and make that choice positive, make that choice, a happy choice. So, that's why I'm pretty focused on affecting change.
And it comes out into the business that you're doing. We're going to get into it. I want you to go into detail about how you guys started this, but one of the things I truly believe is that you could be inspired by the other works by the works of other people, and that could lead you onto your own journey. Who did you meet back in 2006 that you would say played quite an inspiring role into what you're doing today? You want to speak on that a little?
Sure, absolutely. I was really fortunate. I started a company with a friend back in 2001, and we started with very humble beginnings. It was the two of us working several jobs. We were trying very hard to just get a clothing line off the ground, and as a way to offset the cost, we started doing some shipping and distribution for other brands that were friends of ours. We grew that company, luckily, so much so that we had to shelve our clothing line, and we became much more successful at shipping other people's products.
Yeah.
One of the brands that we came in contact with in 2006 was Tom's Shoes, and it was when Blake McCoskey had a couple hundred pairs of shoes in his apartment in Venice. We went down there, we met with him. He had this crazy idea. My partner and I looked at him and said, "This seems crazy, and we love it. And how do we get involved?" So we brought them in and we worked with them for the first couple of years until they actually outgrew us, because they, of course, as we all know, Tom's has had a pretty phenomenal story of success. So a couple of years ago then, when I was at a crossroads, this was 5 years later in 2011, I was trying to figure out really what I could do to have the most impact. I was able to look at that and see at that point in time, they had just announced that they were donating their millionth pair of shoes. So it was really cool to know. I watched the story go from a couple hundred pairs of shoes in someone's living room to a million pairs of shoes worldwide. And it just made me stop and go, why aren't we all doing this? Why isn't everyone trying to find a way to do something like this? And that was a big catalyst, absolutely, for me.
You mentioned that you were at a crossroad. What brought about that in 2011? Because you seem to have a successful company with Ramp Logistics, correct? So
Correct.
you were doing your thing. You were crushing it. What brought about that dilemma?
Well, it's interesting because when you really quantify the value of what you do, and there's more to the bottom line than just the normal monetary bottom line. And I think that's what social entrepreneurship is really starting to show people. There's that double bottom line of the impact that you create. So, for instance, the story that I told you about me and one friend building a company up, and we grew that company into it was no Fortune 500 company, but it's got 70 employees, 60,000 square foot. It's a pretty decent sized business.
Yeah.
And it's actually much larger still than the business This Shirt Helps is right now. But when I tell people the story about Ramp Logistics, no one ever says, "Oh my God, that's amazing. I want to start a logistics company." But when people hear what we're doing with This Shirt Helps, I get calls and emails all day long, Facebook, Twitter, that are like, "Wow, I love what you're doing." And because of it, I decided to start something similar. And can you help me formulate a plan to do something in my general area of expertise? So as a result, the inspirational effect has just been I can't even quantify it. The domino effect in general, and I can't even tell you how many people I talked to that were inspired by a Tom's or a company that Tom spawned, et cetera. So that's really the value that I think comes into it. Like for me personally, to give you a little more of the in-depth personal story.
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple of years ago, in end of 2010, I had a lot of tragedy strike in my life. My father passed away, my wife and I separated, my dog died suddenly. He was only 4 years old at the time. There was a lot of things happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
But I've traveled enough and I've been around the world enough and seen people living in situations where I couldn't still bring myself to feel sorry for myself. I felt like I'm still pretty fortunate and I've been able to, do pretty well just by working hard and being focused and being a happy, positive person. So I felt that I needed to take that a step further. So not only that, if I die tomorrow, I want to know that I tried my hardest to make a difference, to actually create a significant impact. And it was nice with our other company to give employees benefits and 401k and profit sharing and do all those things that not every business can, and to provide a livelihood. But it really ended kind of there. It was, that was the benefit, and the service we provided for our brands. But with, that, all those things happening, I really had a chance to stop and reflect and say, I want to do something that is much larger in scale, that has a world impact, both socially, mentally. For myself, I want to know that I'm trying my hardest to make a big difference.
So you make it through this crossroad, and you pick the right direction. What was the first step? So you have this idea. What would you say was the first step that you could recollect?
It's pretty simple. I live in LA. I live in Hollywood area. I've been to a lot of functions that are philanthropic events. A lot of the statistics that I like to share with people that I think are of interest are, first of all, philanthropy just hasn't been cool ever, really. It's something that you think of an older demographic. It's kind of stodgy. It's not very fun, and it's just not very hip. The product that has been out, that philanthropy has produced and pushed into the world is generally, we all want to help Haiti, but not everyone can wear a shirt that says "Help Haiti," right on it emblazoned. Or we all want to save the whales, but save the picture of whale on your shirt doesn't really work. And even if you really do like that shirt, how many days a week can you wear it before people start talking? Like, hey, that guy's a little off. Yeah. We felt, there was something missing in the marketplace. The other part of it is there's a lot of things that are going on in philanthropy that I just thought are broken in general, that just weren't working very well. I don't like to talk about it too much in interviews because I think that really just spurred me on to try to figure out ways that I think work better. So what we did is we just kind of reverse engineered by thinking of all the reasons why we wouldn't participate in philanthropy and in giving in general, and kind of tried to answer all those questions and remove all those reasons not to. So once we started looking at our ability to have impact, what do I know? I know how to make clothes. I have a distribution company, so I know how to, I have a way to produce and get things to market. The second part of it, though, is when you look at how most of these historically have worked, how most of these philanthropies have worked, they take a number like 1 billion in the aggregate. 1 billion people don't have clean water. Buy this jacket and we'll donate a percentage. Yeah. What does that mean? I don't.
Nobody knows.
I can't even picture 1 billion people. And if you tell me 50% of my $30 shirt goes to help 1 billion people, I feel insignificant and I don't feel like I matter. Yeah. So really, we were trying to figure out. I think the beauty of a Tom's model is, the consumer understands. I buy a pair of shoes and a child gets a pair of shoes. That's a very simple thing for someone to understand how they're affecting another person. So we wanted to try to do that with way more things. So we spent a long time researching all of the philanthropies that we thought were doing sustainable and holistic work in and around the spaces that we were most passionate about. And then once we got those narrowed down to the ones that we felt were effective, we started calling and asking them what their metrics were to see, hey, if we can donate X amount from a shirt or X amount from this product, what does that mean to you? And that's when we got like amazing results. That was like the big light bulb moment where these organizations were like, well, that's actually 80 years of clean water, or that's actually 3 months of school. And we're like, well, how come nobody's talking about this? Why aren't we attaching these things to everyday items? And really, a part of that also was creating items that people need every day, much like, the Help Haiti shirt's really cool, and some people want to be that messenger and want to carry that flag. But how many days a week can you wear it? I can wear a black T-shirt 3 days a week. I mean, I have like a quiver in my closet at any given time of black, white, V-neck, crew neck shirts. So I wanted to create something that people already buy. So it's in their buying pattern. They already need it. They're going to wear it, and make it good, make it quality, make the price the same that they would pay. So that way you're not asking for anything. You're just giving them an add value. Like, you're getting a great shirt at a great price, and it does something good. And the reason that statistically that I think that's so important is to make it cool and make it attainable. Right now, most of the money donated to philanthropic causes in the United States, there's about $310 billion donated annually. That money comes from demographically almost entirely 35 and older, 80% women. So what we need to do is we need to give people that don't have disposable income, like college students, high school kids, but that are going to want to know about these causes, a reason to get involved and do something good without an ask. So let's give them the T-shirt that they were already going to wear. And then that way we're getting an organization like Pencils of Promise in front of them, who's opened their 70th school in 3 years. And now they're going to see that where they wouldn't have otherwise and go, wow, this is really cool. And then they have time and the ability to create a movement, unlike the older demographic that's contributing. Most of them don't have time. They're just throwing money at things because they don't,
just writing a check.
Yeah, they have kids. And
it's interesting that you bring that point up, because there was an article out a couple of months ago stating that 85% of consumers would switch brand if there was a similar brand that was cause related, that supported a cause. So you guys actually hit this on the head.
No, that's really, I've read similar statistics, and they also say that Gen Y, there's like a 60% rate of consumers that will much more likely to buy a product that is associated with a cause that they believe in. So one of the things that we try to do is create options. That's why we work with different organizations. That's why you have the choice to decide which cause your purchase goes to. I think that's obviously a relevant thing for people to feel like they're in control of where their help goes to. The other part about that statistic I thought was crazy is there's a statistic that I've seen anywhere from 25 to 35% of Gen Y millennials will purchase a product online, sight unseen, if it is about a cause that they're passionate about. And that's just unheard of, in
just
retail.
Stumble across a website, and if it touches a spot within them, they'll order it.
Yeah, and we look at it two ways. The way we wanted to create this, we're really passionate. We go work with the organizations. We get on the ground. We want to show people how this works and what it means.
Because you don't want to just write a check. You want to be there,
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to raise money. That's why we didn't create a nonprofit. I don't want to spend any time. I want you to want the product. So that's the two sides we look at it are, we want to make a product that's so good that you really want it, and that it's just a bonus that it also does something really cool. But if you happen to be that person that's really moved by, whether it's education or disaster relief or animals or the environment, whatever the case, if you're that person that wants to buy something for that reason, when you get the product, if you've never had it, you're going to be stoked because it's a great product. So either way you look at it, it's like an add value win. And that's what, we're really, we're hopeful that most of our growth and support will be through our consumers, or they'll be our main advocates.
So you guys started in 2011, early 2011. What are your metrics? How are you guys gauging the impact that you're making so far?
Well, really, we base everything. We track it all on our website. We have a ticker that everything that's sold and paid for, the ticker updates, constantly. We add in the wholesale numbers as those numbers come through. But that's really something that so us and our consumer both can see, this is what we've done so far to date. And I like to tell people when I started the company, because again, I sold a big chunk of my last business and threw it all on the table to do this, because I was like, I'm not going to be that guy that's trying to ask people for something. I'm going to show you that I'm going to go all in and believe in this.
Let's talk about that. So you were fairly successful with Ramp Logistics. You sold everything you had. What was your startup cost for This Shirt Helps?
It was pretty expensive. It's pretty expensive. It's definitely not cheap to start a business. We've been going, the model itself has been in development for over 2 years. We really launched about 6 months ago, but think it's pretty easy to do the math. I mean, I've been working on it 80 hours a week for 2 years. My partner as well, Matt, our team that's internal. You know, it's pretty expensive, but I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe that that's what it
And
takes.
there's a reason why I ask these questions, man, because I want any aspiring social entrepreneur that's watching this program to truly understand what goes into starting and launching a successful social enterprise. So speak on some of the challenges. What are you guys are starting it up? What has been the most difficult part of this so far?
I think that the younger generation has a much greater success rate, or chance, I should say, just because of the opportunities that they are given due to the luck of being born in the generation that has technology and social media. Most of the kids right now that are getting, right out of high school and college, they can create their own website and or social media platforms, and it's actually very inexpensive. If you focus entirely on e-com, the other part about e-com that I'd like to point out in apparel, because I've been in apparel for 12, 14 years now, people didn't buy things online 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody bought clothes online. They wanted to go to the store, touch it, feel it. We're up to about 40% of people say they're comfortable buying online, and it's growing, daily. That's why all these stores are popping up. So because of that, if you can start a business, start it with a small, online model, it's very low startup cost. You could actually do something impactful by being creative for next to nothing. The second part about that I'd like to point out, a lot of the expense that goes into a startup involves, the normal business operational cost and the business partnerships, et cetera. When you're doing something that involves social good, the amount of people that want to help you, it's through the roof. Like I mentioned earlier, that my core ethos is that what matters most is what you do to help others and what you do to make a difference in a positive way. And I firmly believe, the second part of that is I firmly believe that everybody wants to do something that matters, and they just don't know how. They just simple, easy way. It's been so reaffirming the last 6 months since we really launched the brand, how many people have come out of the woodwork and offered to help in so many ways. We have partnerships with trade shows, our factories to give us discounts. We're making up the money that we're spending on the charities themselves through the associated, benefit we get, because people like us, because they want to work with people that actually care and that are doing something. So, it's been pretty cool. I think that you can start a business for a lot less than you think. I mean, I think you could do it for $5,000 or $10,000. You could definitely get something up and going, and if you just work hard at it, you can turn it into something pretty big. In 6 months to a year, it can actually start to take off. So.
I try to do my research for these interviews, and I like to get as much information as I possibly can. And, I came across the video, and I want you to talk about it, because it really impacted me, and it really made me say, yo, I got to get this guy in the program. But what has been the most impactful experience you have had because of This Shirt Helps? I know that you travel to some of these areas, and you get to meet these people that you're helping up close and personal. I want you to pick a scenario or pick one of the memories that stick in your mind the most and talk about it a little.
Sure. There's a few that jump right out. When you get to foreign countries and you start working in developing parts of the world, it's difficult, because this is back to thinking of things in the aggregate. Now you see it in the aggregate. Now you walk into an area. There's an area in Haiti called Sit Soleil. It's the largest shanty town in the Western Hemisphere. There's about 500,000 people that live there. They have no running water. They have no sewers. They have no electricity. They have no stores of any kind. There's no police. There's no medical. There's nothing. There's no schools. I mean, it's the dark ages in a lot of ways there. We went down there as part of our water filtration distribution, and the amount of people suffering from preventable waterborne illness, it's just phenomenal. And when you walk in to 500,000 people with 40 filters for that particular area that we had allocated, and each filter does a couple hundred gallons a day. And in Haiti, the average person uses 2 to 3 gallons of water for cooking, drinking, and cleaning. So you're going to help an amount of people, but you can't help everyone.
Yeah.
It's really, really challenging to walk into those areas. But when you do actually identify the people that you're working with, and you connect with them, and you see how you affect them, it's mind blowing. It's a life changing experience. When you look at a little child, there's little kids were coming up to me. The video you're probably talking about is the vanity video, because there was a little boy in an orange shirt that came up to me, and I don't speak Creole, so we had a translator. So I wish I could tell you exactly what he said, but the child is having a lot of problems just because of waterborne illness that kills a massive amount of people, 6,500 I think again last year. Mostly children. It's always under 6. They die of dehydration because of the effects of the illnesses that you get. And just being able to look at this kid and say, wow, we're affecting this kid. This kid's life is actually changed because we're providing something that it's like a basic human right, like
necessity.
Yeah, a necessity. And it's really, it's phenomenal. Another particular, I can tell you these stories kind of other places. In Guatemala, walking up to one of the schools where the school builds we were working on are taking place, and seeing about 24 of the 75 plus kids at that particular school that were not in a school because there was no structure for them, that were under an eave where it's tropics, it rains all the time, and these kids are like 3, 4, 5 years old. They're outside sitting on the ground in the dirt, trying to be in school and learn. And it's crazy just knowing that their school, that school opened about a week after we left, and it was like double the size of that school. All those kids will be indoors for a very long time. And just knowing that now these kids are going to have a chance at a real education, because I don't know how easy it is to learn outside in the rain. I'm pretty sure most of the kids probably don't even have the ability to get to or from school. And then even to add to that, the element of just awareness. When I have conversations with college kids or students, or have the opportunity to speak, and I tell people the story of how we work, then I'm able to tell them who we work with and why. One of the things that invariably I like to talk about is the sex trafficking and human trafficking epidemic that's very often overlooked. It's 1 to 2 million people sold into slavery every year. The amount of information that people don't know, for instance, in Indonesia, if you're impoverished and you live in the slums, usually you generate most of your income with your children begging on the streets. So women are incentivized to have kids very early. You're generally the property of the man you're with. You have kids at 12, 13, 14 years old. What happens is they give birth in the slum that they live in the shanty town. I've spent time in those conditions, and it's pretty crazy. If anything goes wrong during these pregnancies and they have to go to a hospital to finish childbirth, they get a bill for about 7 million rupiah, which equals about $700 US. Yeah. It's about 3 years of wages or earnings or whatever you want to call it, which they'll never have, and they can't come up with it. So in those countries, in Indonesia specifically, if you don't have the $700, you don't get your baby.
Wow.
They keep your child and they put it up for adoption, which, half the time means it goes into trafficking rings or gets sold abroad and those kinds of things. And just being able to tell people that story, because I know it firsthand, is so powerful, to be able to take the trips that we take and work with organizations and, spread the message we have through our clothing. It's just such a great feeling to know that at any given point, somebody has to go through the mall. Somebody's got to go through a store. Most people aren't going to hear that story on their daily life, in their daily schedule, normal schedule.
It's not a normal conversation. Yeah, it's not a water fountain conversation. Yeah.
But if you see a shirt that says this shirt, this shirt helps fight sex trafficking or has some emblematic thing on it, you're maybe going to look into it and say, wow, And so even if a small percentage of the people that see it on the retail level look into it, now we've got people talking about an issue that needs serious awareness and change. So
that needs some light to be shed on it, man. Now, Joe, man, continue to be a great ambassador, man. One of the initiatives that I'm pushing this year is to, really spread the message of support in cause brands. If we all do it, if we all support cause brands, we could start to make an impact, an even bigger impact, man. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Is there anything else that you would want to share with social entrepreneurs that are watching this program?
Yeah, do what you believe in. You know, that's all it really takes. If you believe in it, people will believe in you. And the authenticity and the integrity is like the most important thing you can have. As long as you're coming from the heart and you're doing things for the right reason, you'll get all the following and all the support you need to get to where you want to go.
Awesome, man. Joe, am I leaving anything out?
No, I think you're all good. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about us. And if there's anything we can ever do to help spread the social entrepreneurship message, we're always here. So look forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Huff of This Shirt Helps. Thanks for coming on the program, Joe.
Thank you, Dwight.